Right now, Richland Center officials will need to start the search for a new police chief as the man charged with sexual assault and theft steps down.
And a busy downtown Madison intersection is getting safety upgrades, how you can get involved in the plans.
Plus, we're learning how long a truck driver will spend in jail after crashing into a school bus and seriously injuring a handful of children.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 6.
And we start with breaking news just into the Channel 3000 Alert Center. Richland Center now in need of a new police chief. Lucas Clements has resigned. The police commission approved the move about an hour ago. Clements has been on paid leave since late June. Last week, he was charged with 3 counts of sexual assault, 1 count of theft. According to a criminal complaint, he groped a female bartender multiple times, then stole her tips. Not guilty pleas were entered on his behalf. Clements' resignation statement says, quote, "As I begin the process of defending the allegations made against me, I do not wish to draw any more unnecessary negative attention to our department and our city." We'll have more on the city's next steps tonight on News 3 Now at 10. Changes are coming for one of the busiest intersections in Madison.
John Nolan Drive and South Blair Street are set to undergo a major construction project in 2022. But first, the city wants to hear from you. Jamie Perez is live at the intersection now. And Jamie, how can Madison residents help the city with this project?
The city wants your opinion on how to make this extremely busy intersection safer in the future. They say with all of the crashes that have been reported here, plus how many streets are coming together in this part of town, they're looking for some changes to improve the overall safety.
It's definitely confusing.
Robbie Weber has driven through, biked on, and walked across the Hairball intersection many times in the last 30 years she's lived here.
City of Madison has to start thinking about the fact that assuming people are going to drive everywhere is not going to work for a growing city built on an isthmus. We have to start prioritizing transit, walking, and biking for short trips.
The city is working on a major project set for 2022 to make some changes to this heavily traveled intersection to improve safety overall. Some of those things include adding some turn lanes, redoing road surfacing, and installing pedestrian lighting. Weber had some of her own suggestions for improvements.
Island right there is full of people, and people are queuing up right here to try and cross onto the island because you have to do it as a 2-stage crossing. You can't do it on one light. So people get stuck in the middle. They get stuck on the curb and then they get stuck in the middle and there's not enough space and people sort of flow over onto the path.
This project came along after the city did a study and found that 92 crashes were reported between 2011 and 2015. 46 of those were rear-end collisions, 9 were bike crashes. And while the city is looking to improve all aspects for drivers, pedestrians, and bikers alike, Weber said she thinks the city should look ahead to the future.
The problem is sometimes you have to give them the right problem to solve. And the right problem to solve here is not how to get more cars through the intersection. It's how to make it safer for people who aren't in cars.
And tonight is your chance to let the city know how you feel and what your thoughts are on making this safer. That meeting is happening in about 30 minutes from right now at the Madison Municipal Building, room 153, if you would like your voice heard.
Jamie Perez live in downtown Madison. Jamie, thank you.
Milwaukee police have arrested a 61-year-old man suspected of a hate crime. Friday night, security cameras captured the moment a verbal argument escalated, and the suspect threw battery acid onto 42-year-old Mahoud Villalaz's face. The man accused him of being in the country illegally. Villalaz told him he was a U.S. citizen. Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett is condemning the incident and blames the president's rhetoric for why we're seeing more division.
And my concern is that more and more people feel that because the president is saying it, that this is okay. This is okay. It's not okay. It's horrible. It's horrific. And every single elected official in this nation should be condemning this action.
Villalaz suffered second-degree burns to his face. The suspect is expected to be charged tomorrow. Crews have given the all-clear at a Sun Prairie Middle School after reports of a natural gas leak. Students were evacuated from Cardinal Heights Upper Middle School right around 3:45. They were allowed back in shortly after when crews determined the building was indeed safe.
Warmer out today a bit, but we get cold enough for more snow chances this week. Let's check your first alert forecast now with meteorologist Dana Fulton. Dana?
A little snow possible and some much colder temperatures on the way before the end of the work week. Tonight, partly cloudy, and our temps are going to fall down through the 20s for our overnight low. For the rest of your evening, plan on a partly cloudy sky. Temps will be in the 30s, at least up until midnight, and then the mid to upper 20s starting off Tuesday. Tuesday will be dry, but Tuesday night into Wednesday, that's our next chance for accumulating snowfall, likely going to impact your Wednesday morning commute. We'll take a closer look at those accumulation totals and the timing in just a few minutes.
Dana, thanks. A former Madison hospital worker will spend 4 years in prison plus 3 years extended supervision for possession of child pornography. 39-year-old Patrick Manning was arrested in January of 2018 and charged with 19 felonies. According to a criminal complaint, investigators found more than 2,000 images of violent child pornography showing infants or toddlers on his computer. A judge has ordered he not have any contact with any non-family member under the age of 18.
20.5 years. That's how long Wayne Murphy will spend in prison for slamming a big rig into a parked school bus on the interstate.
Today, a judge sentenced him for all 30 counts he was found guilty of, including 10 felonies, 2 for each of the 5 middle schoolers seriously hurt. Our Amanda Quintana has details from the Columbia County Courthouse.
Yes, well, although Murphy keeps calling this an accident, the judge says this was no accident. This could have been prevented, and he says that Murphy is not taking responsibility for it. Today, we heard from a student, a middle schooler from the Milwaukee area, who had to be transported to the hospital by helicopter after that crash last May. Now, he says he's too scared to ride the school bus. Mothers saying it was the scariest day of their life getting that call. The prosecution saying many of the children still have nightmares, still have injuries, and one of the girls who suffered a traumatic brain injury will never be the same, saying still, Murphy has seemed unremorseful.
Although one thing is yet to answer in this case is the bus and its condition was why the kids were put on a bus that was faulting for a week before setting off across the state for the field trip.
Any of that had absolutely nothing to do with you and your activities that day. Whether you hit this bus at that location or whether you hit another vehicle on the roadway before, during, or after this event is all on you.
Murphy's mother and brother spoke on his behalf today, calling him a good person who just might not show his emotion, but they know he is sorry. But the judge says Murphy's statement, quote, submarined theirs, Murphy having the audacity to try to blame others. The judge saying that he gave Murphy a sentence for each of the victims he seriously hurt, saying each of them and their families all deserve justice. In Portage, Amanda Quintana, News 3 Now.
Murphy was also ordered to pay thousands of dollars in fines and will be on extended supervision for years after he's out of prison.
If last week's snow wasn't enough of a wake-up call, Governor Evers is declaring this week's Winter Awareness Week. The governor is urging people to keep an emergency kit in your car in case you get stranded. It should include a snow shovel, extra gloves and hats, and kitty litter or sand to help your wheels get traction on those icy roads. As you're preparing your leaves and yard waste for streets crews to collect, throw in your pumpkins as well. City officials say it is better to put those jack-o'-lanterns and decorative gourds out with yard waste to be composted instead of being sent to a landfill with your trash. You're asked to remove any non-compostable materials like those tea candles or electric lights.
More local news now. Middleton's Point Burger Bar location will close. In a Facebook post, the owner said they lost revenue fixing damage from flooding last September. They thanked the Middleton community for its support and said if the right opportunity came along, they'd be happy to return to Middleton. Owners have not specified an exact closing date.
Cher is coming to the Kohl Center. She's extending her Here We Go Again tour with Nile Rodgers and Chic. The show is April 9th, 2020. Tickets go on sale this Friday. Cher will also perform at the Rush Center in Green Bay on April 13th. You have a chance to score $10 Hamilton tickets. The Overture Center will be selling 40 tickets for every performance at that price through its digital lottery. You can register beginning at 11 a.m. 2 days before each performance until 9 a.m. 1 day before. Each winning participant can purchase up to 2 tickets. We have information about how to enter on channel3000.com. 30 years of service in Madison was put to good use this weekend when the city's fire chief saved a life in his own neighborhood.
And Chief Stephen Davis using this experience to remind you about the importance of knowing how to do hands-only CPR. Rose Schmidt spoke to Chief Davis today and shares that message. Rose.
So Chief Davis said the last time he had to use an automated external defibrillator, or AED, was probably almost a decade ago. But it's a skill that he equates to riding a bike as his years of training kicked in. Chief Davis was home Saturday afternoon when his neighbor came over and said her son-in-law wasn't breathing. Davis hooked up the AED from his chief's car and gave the man a shock. The man's wife had been doing CPR, and Davis says those compressions were vital in keeping him alive, so she was actually the real hero. Davis didn't know the man personally, but he radioed his paramedics who took him to the hospital.
Yeah, you have a little adrenaline kick, and you know, I had to get ready to do something that night, so I didn't have a lot of downtime to think really about it, but one of the paramedics had called and said that he lived, and that you know, it makes you feel good.
Davis says providing an electric shock from the AED and providing CPR drastically improves the chances of survival for someone who isn't breathing and doesn't have a pulse. The compressions are critical in those first few minutes while waiting for first responders to arrive. Chief Davis is also encouraging people to download the Pulse Point app, which they can use to respond to help someone nearby who is not breathing.
Yeah, good to have that guy next door.
Yeah, definitely.
Important lesson, though, for all of us, too. Rose, thank you. Next at 6, little robots are now driving themselves all over the UW-Madison campus. We'll explain how they're helping students take one small thing off their to-do lists.
And there's more local news ahead. We are looking into where your $40 from the new wheel tax is going and the new bus routes it'll help create. That's tonight on News 3 Now at 10. UW-Madison students can now have their meals delivered via robot. University Housing and Dining Services is launching a fleet of 30 Starship Technologies robots. Students can order dining hall food from an app and drop a pin where they want the autonomous robots to deliver it. University officials say the aim is convenience and flexibility for students who are juggling more than ever before.
It's something that our students have been requesting for a while now, and quite frankly, when they come to us with Uber Eats and Grubhub and those companies being around for so long, it's a service that they expect. And now with this technology, we're able to offer it to them.
Right now, delivery is available in the Lakeshore campus area, and it'll expand to the southeast area in the coming weeks. The delivery fee is $1.99, and orders can be placed during normal cafeteria hours.
With low test scores and wasted class time, one area math teacher saw a need for change in his classroom.
Gabriela Becerra shares how eliminating a certain exercise makes a huge difference.
Scott Anderson does not assign homework to his students at Judah High School. Instead, the students learn and practice math between the two bells. This change came 2 years ago, and now grades are based on quizzes and tests that can be taken as many times as the students need. All of this change was based on a goal Anderson set for his students, a bigger impact at the next level, 0 remediation classes.
We were probably just like every other average school, and we had a large portion of our outgoing seniors who weren't qualifying for college credit math. We are no better, no worse. And since I am the department, I said, this has to change.
Anderson says keeping the work inside the classroom better allows for the students to work at their own pace. I will have more, including how Anderson's teaching philosophy is affecting test scores, tonight on News 3 Now at 10.
Coming up in sports, the Brewers are saying goodbye to some big-name players. Sports Director Jay Wilson will have all those details.
Now we have an alert day in the forecast for more snow accumulation. I know you're probably excited to hear that. And Dana will share just how much we can expect. Coming your way next. Meteorologist Dana Fulton joining us. If you got some of that snow finally melted off, we might have a little bit more coming.
Might start to add a little bit more back onto that. Thankfully, though, we get to enjoy another sunny, or at least one more sunny day before the snow starts to creep back in. Though it is going to be a little colder outside. Right now, we do have a bit of some light flurries and mix towards La Crosse, Viroqua, just outside of Camp Douglas. Nothing that's going to lead into any additional accumulation, of course, and that's not going to drift really further south. Otherwise, our Doppler track is quiet. That's associated with a second cold front that's up to the north. As that front sinks southeast overnight for Tuesday morning, it's really not going to bring any snow or rain for most of the area, though tomorrow it is going to be colder outside behind this week. weak front. It's also going to be a little breezy as we're sandwiched between that cold front and some high pressure just off to the northwest. So plan on a breezy Tuesday, a mostly sunny sky though, thanks to that high pressure. And then our next system starts to approach late Tuesday evening. Looking at 6 o'clock, we still have clouds off to the west. The cloud coverage will build in later in the evening, and then those snow chances start to develop really after midnight into early Wednesday morning. If this system passes further south, we will see a little more snow accumulation in southern Wisconsin. If it starts to squeeze just a little further north, then we'll likely have a little more rain and wintry mix along the Beloit and Janesville area. So that means lesser totals expected along this state line. By Wednesday morning, the system's pretty much out of here. We may have a few lingering flurries still into the mid and late morning, but most of that is gone for the daytime. Temperatures overnight will fall through the 20s. It'll be colder outside early in the day, and then afternoon highs with a mostly sunny sky in the mid to upper 30s for Tuesday. For your drive home for Tuesday, it should be dry, still pretty sunny outside. Clouds building in late in the evening, though, with some light snow starting for the southwest corner of the state first, and then that snow will lift across. For your Wednesday morning commute, if you're leaving pretty early in the morning, likely still going to have some light flurries. We'll be keeping a close eye, of course, down towards Janesville and Beloit and even into Monroe, where there might be a little wintry mix or some light rain for early on Wednesday. And that, of course, will eat away at any snowfall accumulation. For Wednesday afternoon, still pretty cloudy outside. Temperatures again in the upper 30s. We're looking at a pretty tight band here stretching through central Wisconsin of about 2 inches max. Most of the area covering about an inch to an inch and a half for Madison. Higher amounts expected to the north. The further south you go, those accumulation totals decrease quite a bit. Tomorrow's temperatures will be in the upper 30s, so a little bit of a drop from where we're at today. Again, a little breezy outside also, as those wind speeds will be anywhere from 10 to 20 miles per hour. Along the state line, it will be just a little warmer, though. The further north you go, those temps will be closer to the mid-30s. Wednesday, we do have an alert day in the forecast because of that snow potential for your drive into work. Likely going to make the roads a little slick. Behind that system, we're expecting a major cool down. Unseasonably cool weather for Thursday and Friday, even with sunny skies. Temperatures will be in the upper 20s. By Saturday and Sunday, though, we climb back up just a little bit, though we stay below average even looking into next week. That's a quick look at your forecast.
The Packers are trying to figure out just what went wrong in Southern California yesterday. The story's coming up in sports. Brewers started off the offseason with some significant player moves. They traded pitcher Chase Anderson to the Toronto Blue Jays for infielder Chad Spanberger. They also decided to keep catcher Manny Pena by exercising the club's option, but they're saying goodbye to first baseman Eric Thames. The Brewers could have kept Thames another year at $7.5 million, but they'll give him a $1 million buyout instead. He had 25 homers and 23 doubles this season. He was a serviceable player at the field at first base and on rare occasions in the outfield, but Eric Thames won't be back with the Brewers in 2020. The Badger football team is back from its bye week. It'll start a critical stretch in November, which is basically an elimination game with the Big Ten West Championship on the line when they play Iowa at Camp Randall Saturday afternoon at 3. With the sting of losing at Illinois and Ohio State still fresh in their minds, the Badgers still have a lot to play for in the next month with games against Iowa, at Nebraska, home to Purdue, then what could be a really huge game at Minnesota. But first things first, a date with Iowa Saturday.
You got to be playing your best football in November, end of the year. You know, you got some teams who, unfortunately might be struggling with injury. People are breaking down, so you got to make sure you're playing your best football. Coaches will start scheming up things. This crunch time, you got to do whatever it takes to win. So you got to make sure that no matter what you're doing, you're going 100 miles an hour, you're locked in your focus, and you know exactly what you need to do because you got to be playing at your best at this time.
The Packers are back home this week. They'll play the Carolina Panthers at Lambeau Field this Sunday at noon. In a 16-game regular season schedule, you're going to have a game or two that are pretty much duds. And the Packers had one of those games yesterday at the Los Angeles Chargers. Aaron Rodgers had one of the worst games in his career, throwing for only 161 yards and had a passer rating of 85.5. It just seemed like the Packers were lifeless from the start. And Rodgers had some pretty interesting thoughts after the 26-11 loss.
We got to get back to protecting and throwing the ball on time and being accurate. And this is a good slice of humble pie for us. We're kind of rolling at 7-1 and starting to listen to the chatter maybe a little too much. So I think this will be a good thing for us. We'll regroup.
And Chargers quarterback Phillip Rivers brought his 8-month-old daughter Anna to his post-game news conference. She's the 9th child for Phillip and Tiffany Rivers. The two started dating in middle school and were married after Rivers' freshman year in North Carolina State. Now they have 9 kids. No thanks. Congratulations to the Badger men's cross-country team. They won the Big Ten championship yesterday in Columbus, Ohio. That's the 50th conference title in history. Oliver Hoare won the men's individual title, while Wisconsin's Alicia Munson won the Big Ten women's individual championship. And this is what they got to run in at the WIAA State Cross Country Championships in Wisconsin Rapids Saturday. It didn't snow all the time, but it snowed enough. We had a couple of local winners. The Middleton boys team won the Division I championship, and Wisconsin Heights Barneveld senior Christian Patska was the individual winner in the Division III boys race. Now, if your child runs cross country, like you see them at the race twice, at the start and at the finish. So hats off to all the fans too that watch their children run cross country,
Running in some elements.
Yeah.
And that weather, too, boy.
Oh, man. And it does seem like we do have a little more snow in the forecast for Tuesday night into Wednesday. So there is an alert day for Wednesday morning, as there will be a little bit of snow still falling, especially for areas north and east of Madison. Roads will be a little slick. Sunshine to follow for Thursday and Friday. Much, much cooler outside for Thursday and Friday. And then by the weekend, back to the upper 30s. So that's still a little bit below average.
Dana, thank you. Thanks for joining us for News 3 Now at 6.
Have a great evening, and we'll see you back here at 10 o'clock.